Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1988 Chinese comedy film, The Eighth Happiness. Now, this is normally not a genre that I really seek out that much, Chinese comedies. So I didn't really have the highest of expectations for this one going in. So I was honestly a bit surprised by this. I thought it was okay, which is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Um, I would say at best this is a time waster for me for some of the comedy and for a performance in particular by one of the cast members. But this was surprising in the fact that I actually found it to be at all engaging or kind of entertaining, considering the fact that this is definitely not something that I normally gravitate towards when it comes to movies. But before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on the film, I would like to give a special shout out to Ryan for requesting this review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. Link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, The Eighth Happiness is directed by Johnnie To. Now, Johnnie To is a director who normally, if you look at his filmography, he's got a lot of dramas and action in there. There are some comedies, but that doesn't seem to be the thing that he does the most. And you could kind of tell at points here. But I would say the direction for this is still fine. It's all right. It's very firmly in the middle in pretty much every possible way when it comes to the framing, when it comes to the usage of camera angles or camera movement or different technical aspects like tracking shots and pans and zooms and so on and so forth. There really isn't a lot about it that's technically impressive. It's not definitely a ambitious a production in terms of the direction. That is definitely not something that is to be found here. But it's the kind of movie though where it's at least consistently average when it comes to its direction and everything that comes with that. So there's not any moments where it's wildly off the mark when it comes to its visuals or its style. So it's very firmly in the middle, doesn't take a lot of chances, doesn't take any risks, but it gets the job done. Now, the script is written by Philip Cheng and Raymond Wong, and it's in a lot of ways it's a rom com. It's a rom com about three couples and centers around three brothers: Fung Kim Long, Fung Kim Phi, and Fung Kim Sang. And something happens with their telephone line, and they wind up meeting their future loves of their lives because of this issue with the phone. And that's really what the crux of the entire plot is. It's a romance. It's about these three brothers finding their soulmates or the people that they ultimately want to spend the rest of their lives with. Well, at least some of them anyway. It seems like one character in particular kind of gets screwed over in the end, which I do have a problem with. But I'll get to that later. The three brothers, they have different personalities. They're also of different ages. You have Fong Kim Long, who is, I believe, the second oldest brother. And he's very campy and over the top with his personality. Uh, Pretty fey, actually. And it's all an act, though, so he can get more women. So they can let their guard down around him because they think that he's gay. And you have this older brother and Fong Kim Phi. And he's this shy, reserved guy who's like older and he doesn't have a girlfriend, but he does host this cooking show on TV. And then you have the youngest brother, Fung Kim Sang, and he just seems like I think he's kind of like the jokester a little bit, but kind of not. Like he's kind of the instigator in some ways, but he's also kind of shy too, to the point where he really didn't stand out that much when it comes like the way that he was written. Like, I didn't really seem like he was that much of a standout in terms of his personality compared to his older brothers. And you have a good chunk of the story involves Fong Kim Long just trying to do various different things to get women in bed. And speaking of this guy, I mean, this guy has an entire car for a bed. Like, not like an actual like Ferrari or something, like with a bed in it. Which I was like, wow. That's definitely unique. Definitely gives a new term to describe a race car bed with, because it's definitely not the kind of thing that you see that often, but it really fits him and his flashy personality. And he has this fiance of his, and I don't really exactly remember the woman's name. I know it's not beautiful because she's the one that Fong Kim Long is cheating on his fiance with. So I don't know. I don't remember exactly the name of the character. Somebody could fill me in. Please feel free to do so. But he's got a fiance, and he's definitely in love with her, but he can't seem to find a way to completely distance himself from his womanizing ways. So he keeps seeing this other woman beautiful on the side, and it almost costs him his marriage, but he wins her back in the end. Now, Fong Kim Phi, he winds up falling for this woman who actually is the same woman who apparently, I think she called their apartment one night when the phones were getting mixed up, and they decided to harass her for some reason, which that doesn't really help, and it really does kind of make these characters seem like a bunch of dicks, to be perfectly honest. Just harass this random woman on the phone. So they kept harassing this woman, and then eventually one of the brothers, the older brother, falls for this woman, and they fall in love, and they actually make a pretty cute couple. But she doesn't know right away that the brother, the guy that she's dating, is one of the same guys who was harassing her, along with his older brother, who was the one that was doing the majority of the harassing, but he was still a part of it. Doesn't really find that out until there's like a dinner date at Fong Kim Phi's apartment, and then they're bored, and then the younger brother Fong Kim Sang to say, "Hey, why don't we call up that woman again and harass her?" And then the woman actually gives the her phone number to Fong Kim Sang, and then she breaks up with Fong Kim Phi because of the fact that, you know, he was a part of all of this. And I think it's Fan Fong. I think that's who it is. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that is who it is. It could be Dodo, but I'm not entirely sure what the name of that character is either. For some reason, the characters' names, it just didn't really stick with me. I think it's because there were just so many characters. It was kind of hard to keep track of everybody. Um, but eventually, though, Fong Kim Fai, with the help of his friends and his brothers, wins his potential girlfriend over again. The girl who was getting all the phone calls. But that doesn't actually turn out that well for him because there's a twist at the end that's revealed that her original husband, because she was separated from her husband at the time, but it doesn't seem like they had fully divorced. He comes back, she gets back with him, and then Fong Kim Phi, he winds up getting this other woman who I think it's relayed that it was a childhood crush of his, and they both share the same love of these 8-star cookies. And I'm like, which I think is meant to be the eighth happiness. But I'm like, okay, why go through all the trouble that this script did and the story did with this relationship with this woman who was on the phone, who was getting harassed, and then uh Fong's trying to get back with her and win her back, leads to turmoil with his older brother because he invites him and this other woman that he wanted to be with to his older brother's, well, not really older, it's his younger brother, handsome, Fong Long. So he invites this woman that could be a potential wife of his to Fong Kim Long's wedding. Uh, I think it's like the reception or something like that. So he invites her along, and then he has to wind up kissing Beautiful because Fong Kim Long's fiance shows up right as he's trying to, get a quickie with Beautiful. And so his older brother comes in and covers for him, but then this other woman that he's into, she sees him doing that, and so it just becomes a mess. And like I said, there are 3 brothers. So there is another brother who's also involved with this other girl that he's falling for. I think it's Ying Yang is her name. And so Fong Kim Sang is into Ying Yang, but she has a boyfriend, and this guy is just a muscle bound jerk who hits Fong Kim Sang multiple times with ping pong balls. And then eventually, due to some help with his friends and his brothers, they rig a ping pong match and then win Ying Yang or Ying Yang. And then now Fong Kim Song and Ying Yang are together. And Ying Yang was his crush, so they wind up becoming a couple, and like it's this supposed to be this really charming, heartwarming thing, but it just seemed to be kind of forced because they just set it up by rigging a ping pong game. It was like he didn't even actually win her over like in a fair way. They just set up a ping pong game with her boyfriend and rigged it for him to win, and now he's got the girl. So there's a lot of just that kind of stuff in this. It's just kind of weird, and I wouldn't necessarily say is the best writing. It's very evident in the ending where all of the effort that was put into Fong Kim Phi and him trying to be with this woman, this girl, who I do believe is Fang Fong now that I think about it. And it just falls apart in the end anyway. So it's like, well, that was pointless. It just felt like it was a waste of time. Can you imagine a rom com in the US ending that way? Where you spend all of his time with these 2 people and their on and off again relationship, or them breaking up and then trying to get back together, and then they eventually get back together after all of this effort. And then during the end credits, some side character narrates and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, they broke up and she got back together with her ex." And but don't worry, that guy still found love. It's some random woman that he met that he used to have a crush on in high school. Like, what? So I didn't really care for that at all. But there are some funny bits in terms of the comedy. The opening of the film is probably the funniest moment because it's completely out of nowhere. It's this random scene where I believe it's Fong Kim Sang, the younger brother, and he's in a park. And I think he's maybe trying to ask this one girl out on a date, or he has a girl on a date. And then this random little person shows up and he starts flashing them, and then they run away. And then he winds up running into this group of women that are doing, like, I think, like yoga with swords or something, like Tai Chi with swords. And then he winds up getting chased by them because there's this misunderstanding, and then he actually runs into that woman again, actually, because she's the mother of Ying Yang. So I believe it's Ying Yang, but I could be wrong. Well, actually, no, that is Handsome. No, that's a different one. Yeah, no, actually, he does, because he's trying to help this woman that apparently he says she called the phone, said she's gonna kill herself, and then he goes over and tries to help her, but he winds up in the wrong house, and it's the house with that woman with the swords. So she starts chasing him around the swords again, until they find out that no, there actually is a woman who tried to kill herself with carbon monoxide next door. So there's a lot of just crazy, weird stuff like that in this script. There's this whole really strange first date that handsome Fong Kim Long has with Beautiful, where she's on a date with this other guy, but Handsome decides to do this thing where he just starts like breaking expensive stuff that he owns and like messing up his car, which then causes this other guy to try to one up him, and he breaks his Rolex watch and then busts his car, and then he doesn't want to go any further with the one-upmanship and what is clearly a dick measuring contest. And so Beautiful winds up going with Handsome in his busted up car. And I was just like, which isn't really his car, by the way. It's Fong Kim Phi's car. And then, of course, you have the other stuff with Fong Kim Phi and his job working as a host of a cooking show on TV. And the intro is as if he's in a James Bond movie, which is weird. And the way that one of the ways he tries to win back the woman that he loves in Fang Fong, tries to win her back by doing this whole thing where he makes a soup that has like a shit ton of spicy peppers in it and drinks it live on camera, but she just doesn't really care. I think she's being silly and just switches the channel. So the guy, my man, he's down so bad he drinks like hot pepper soup and it still doesn't work. Still doesn't win her over. So the script does a good job making you feel for this guy, which is why the ending, the way that that it happens, is so lame. Because it sets it up where, okay, handsome, he winds up marrying the woman, his fiance, after he won her back, after she saw him cheating on her again. Because apparently this is not a new thing for him. And they settle down, and he has all these babies, and he's saddled with all these babies, and now he can't be, handsome. He's got to spend all of his time doing all these things and taking care of these babies. And it seems like from the end credits, it doesn't seem like he's very happy with it. So I guess he kind of gets a little bit of a comeuppance for being a dick. but at the same time, like he kind of, I would say I mean, Fong Kim Sang still gets a pretty good ending in the end because he marries his girl and then they go and have a destination wedding. So like he probably got the best ending out of the three brothers. Poor Fong Kim Fai, who is the one who it seems like he's honestly has the most focus in terms of the story after a certain point, really gets a raw deal by the end. But yeah, there's some quirkiness to this. There are some charming moments with the brothers and their lovers, and it's fun to see the whole way that Chinese culture is incorporated into the story, where Fan Fong, she works for this. It's like a theater troupe, like where you dress up in kabuki makeup and do all of these dances and stuff like that and sing, which is a Chinese thing. And so it's kind of fun to see how that's incorporated into the finale and how um, the brothers and their friends ultimately win back Fan Fong for Fong Kim Fai. Only for it not to mean anything by the end, but it was still interesting though, the way that that was incorporated, as well as some of the other things like the 8-star cookies and some of these other things. So I would say the story is somewhat compelling and kind of funny at points when it comes to some of the misadventures of the brothers, but it's not like laugh out loud hilarious, and it's not like something that is con- consistently enthralling throughout, but it's good enough. It's a decent screenplay. I think if the ending just ended with the brothers and their friends winning a back Fan Fong for Fong Kim Fai and he stayed with her, then I would probably give this script an extra bit of credit, and I wouldn't say that it's just average. I would probably give it maybe an above average rating, but because of that, it's I just gotta knock it down to just an average job when it comes to the screenplay. The cast, I would say they're one of the uh, best things about the movie, especially Chow Yun Fat as handsome Fong Kim Long. It was such a treat, and it was so much fun to see him play against type in this movie. Of course, Chow Yun Fat is known for his serious roles, his action roles, his drama roles, his thriller roles. He's not known for being in a rom com as a campy uh, kind of character who apparently, because his brothers used to dress him up as a girl when he was a kid, now he's grown up and he's sassy, or as he likes to call himself, campy, or other people call him a sissy. So, but a lot of it though is an act. It's just him acting that way so he can get more ladies. So I was just really an energetic and fun and crazy performance by him, and it really was fun to watch just to see him play this totally different character than what you're used to seeing him play in other film roles. Raymond Wong was sympathetic and endearing and charming in his own way as the older brother Fong Kim Fai. Uh, Jacky Chung, I didn't mind either as Fong Kim Sang. He also had a certain vulnerable and likable quality to him. Uh, Carol Cheng as Dodo was decent. Same thing goes for Fennie Yuen as Ying Ying. Cherie Chung is beautiful. Uh, Fung Bobo. Uh, Teddy Robin. So it was a good cast. You had Ringo Lam, the director. He was in the audience in I think during the theater show. He was in the audience for a little short cameo. Didn't say anything, but it was like, oh hey, there's Ringo Lamb. So the film was massively successful though. Like it was like the highest grossing film in Hong Kong at the time. So it was like the highest grossing film of that year in 1988. And I could kind of see why. I mean, you got a good enough cast. It's it's a fun watch. It's definitely something you could take your date to. I could definitely see why this was something that was pretty popular for Hong Kong audiences. And for, fair amount of people, who might have seen it back in the day or even now. It's just not really the kind of thing that I watch a lot of or really um, enjoy that often. But I mean, like I said, the direction is competent. The cinematography by Joe Chan and Paul Chan is also decent. So is the editing by David Wu. The music by Tony Lowe. It's not a low point. It's only like 91 minutes. That's with the end credits. Without it, it's shorter. So, it's a pretty short movie. You got some laughs, you got uh some romance, and you got at least one performance by Chow Yun Fat that is quite memorable in it. So like, yeah, it's not really something that I would say I would highly recommend at the end of the day. But I would say check it out if you're curious. And if you are into these kind of films, if you're into the foreign films, the Chinese films, the Hong Kong films, you like those movies, then this is definitely something I think would be worth watching. Just kind of switch things up a little bit. See a comedy from Hong Kong instead of like an action film or a thriller or a horror movie when it comes to China or other Asian markets. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the Eighth Happiness. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.